My name is John Spadaccini. I started off as the Director of Career Services at Ave Maria University in the fall of 2019. Like a lot of the Newman Guide schools, we were like a single office, no budget, kind of in the basement of Ave Maria University. President Mittendorf, when he came to the university, the first thing he did was did a consecration of the whole university to the Blessed Mother. We all participated. And one day when he was in the Eucharistic Adoration Chapel, he was inspired to do something different with professional training and experiential learning. So one of our trustees told President Mittendorf, you got to hire Daniel Schreck. He's the man to do the job. So we hired Daniel Schreck. He's our Chief Strategy Officer, Executive Director of the Institute, and on the cabinet level, he oversees the Institute athletics and our Ireland project. We're starting our campus in the fall. So Career Services was merged with the Institute, and we're really reimagining career services. And you see, and what we're doing is we're forming virtuous leaders for the marketplace. Next slide, please. So what is the Institute at Ave Maria University? It's really a fully integrated formation model. We combine the liberal arts with professional preparation and vocation. We deliver through a boutique high-touch approach, which you'll learn more about, and align a mission-driven for employers. Next slide. So we're integrated on 4 pillars. So you can see that the pillars are a program, network, sponsors, and tools. And you're going to see that because we're going to dive right into our website. The next slide, please. So if you can copy that website and open it up on a browser, please. So I'll be talking about the program, what we do with the freshmen and sophomores, and then I'm going to hand it off to Andrew, and he'll introduce himself, and he'll talk about his background a little bit and what we do with juniors and seniors, and how that plays into our corporate engagement. So as you see, we're connecting AMU to the marketplace. When you go back home to your rooms tonight, you can watch a little video about the history of Ave Maria University, Mr. Tom Monahan, how the university started, and how the Institute was born. But if you can click on program up top there, and then if you can slide down a little bit, slide down, stop. So what is the program? Well, it's really a 10K learning model, which we developed at the Institute. And as you can see, it starts with the theme, and it ends with the solution, and all of the steps in between. If you can pull down, please, or scroll it up. So back down. Perfect, stop. So we have a 4-year learning model, and it's for all students at Ave Maria University. We have 2 tracks. We have the scholar track and the participant track. So in the scholar track, the students have to have a 3.0 or higher. They have to be willing and capable to commit 10 to 15 hours a month following our curriculum, which is co-curricular and runs parallel with their academic curriculum. And as you can see, we have themes in the freshman year, and it starts with decorum, work, and so on. And then we have themes during the sophomore year, if you want to click on the sophomore year. And you can see the themes there, like in September we have AI, then we start career prep, and every year after we do have career prep and more themes. So how we start every month is we have a big meeting where we bring our scholars together, and the theme is introduced, they're given a challenge. And then we have a master class where we bring in an industry expert or faculty, depending on the theme, and they're taught about that they have to come up with a solution, and they're given the tools to deliver the solutions. Then they have small groups, and the small groups are about 8 students to a group. They stay in their group for the entire semester, and during the month they will come up with a solution for the challenge. And at the end of the month, we use our performance hall, and they will deliver the solution to the challenge. And we have judges from industry. So there's like a winner, and then there's the People's Choice Award, where the students can vote on their classmates as who had the best solution. So we do that through for the freshman year and the sophomore year. What we also have, part of this is mentoring. So all of our students are matched with a mentor. And if they're Catholic and seasoned in their career, they come from alumni and from businesses and from Legatus. And they do 6 hours of mentoring, 3 one-hour meetings in the fall, 3 one-hour meetings in the spring. So our students, when they graduate, they have their mentors in place, they have their network in place. So I'm going to ask my colleague Andrew to come up and talk about the junior year and the senior year.
All right, awesome. Thanks, John. And just real quick, just to elaborate on the modules, just to give you an example, one of the last modules we had before the year ended last April was sales. So we brought in a VP, retired VP of sales for Stanley Black & Decker. He gave a presentation on how to develop a sales pitch for any good or service, and he presented them with that template. And he brought a bunch of Stanley Black & Decker measuring tapes and incorporated that. It was a lot of fun. And then he gave him a challenge statement: now develop a product that doesn't exist and sell it by developing a sales pitch with this template. And then at the end of the month, there's 29 groups. We brought in 29 business leaders. So they all listened to those pitches, graded the students, and they did about 5 rounds where they moved around 5 or 6 different tables. And then by the end of that session, about 35 minutes, we had an award winner team that got the most points from those judges. And they got a automatic watch or Hermes scarf, something really cool that's gonna make them feel special in their first job or their first interview. So each month follows that same pattern. And then in the junior year, instead of doing themes that have topics and bringing in master classes, we actually want the students to now start working with companies and start applying all those skills. So one of the things we're asking companies is, number one, do you have any talent needs? Can we help you fill your internship program? Do you have any part-time jobs that are open that can be done remotely while the students are in Ave Maria? We'll give them space to work. What kind of full-time opportunities do you have for our graduates or even recent alumni? And the second question we're asking them is, where do you guys want to be in the next 2 to 5 years? What are some challenges in getting there? And let's carve out one of those challenges as a problem statement that we can give an interdisciplinary group of students, because these students are from all the different degrees, give an interdisciplinary group of students and let them work with one of those industry leaders, like Craig Vogel from sales or Tom Shalou from communications, whoever it is, and we'll also pair it with a faculty member, and they'll work on that challenge, that problem statement throughout the entire month together, and then present solutions back to the company. So the really cool thing is that the company gets a second pair of eyes, kind of a consulting experience, what do young people think about this problem statement? How would they tackle it? And how would they do it with their support from their industry expert that we paired them up with? And then the goal is that the company then has a decision. I have these solutions from these students. Maybe I just hire one right off the bat to implement it for me part-time while they're in school, or I hire them for my internship program, or maybe I hire them when I graduate. So it makes a very intentional relationship between the company's needs and where they want to be in the next 2 to 5 years and what the students are capable of delivering. And then our goal is that it doesn't matter if you're a theology degree or a philosophy degree or history degree, you can succeed in any industry, in any job with these core suite of skills that you're going to get throughout your freshman and sophomore year. The third thing we're asking companies is, do you have any training programs that you're implementing to onboard your employees? Because you find out they're not getting this from the schools that you're hiring them from. A lot of times they'll say, oh, absolutely, yes, I have a very niche hiring thing or training thing that I do to educate all my onboarding sales staff on how you can use precious metals in your retirement savings account, because they don't really teach that in school. Or the Archdiocese of Boston said, yeah, we have a very specific training program for all of our finance and operations directors. We require that coming in. So can we turn that into a co-credential with Ave Maria University? We'll offer that to the students in their junior and senior year so they can start getting that experience and that co-credential before they even graduate, making them even more industry ready when they do graduate. So by the time they graduate, We've got company project, career prep, and elective skill in the fall, and then it repeats in the spring. Company project, a service, nonprofit, or service work in the community, elective skill, and an internship. So by the time they graduate, they've done 4 company projects, hopefully for 4 different companies. They've expanded their network, they got all this experience, and then they've also done those elective skills, one in the fall, one in the spring, in the junior and senior year. So also hopefully 4 co-credentials as well. And so by the time they graduate, they've got this great network. They've got all these applicable skills from the marketplace. They've got their core curriculum for the first 2 years. Then they have their specialized degree in the junior and senior year. So we hope that's a full package, very rounded, well-rounded student that's already able to apply their work in the marketplace. So we're asking companies those 3 questions every time we meet with them. We do a discovery call. We break down who they are, how many employees they have, where they're located, what their good or service is, what openings they have, where they want to be in 2 to 5 years, and then any training programs that they have. And it's about a 45-minute call every time, and then we basically give them a presentation or a proposal afterwards on this is what we can deliver to you on these dates and these months. And then develop a partnership that way, trying to focus on what the university is really good at and what the needs of each company are. And we've been successful recruiting companies everywhere from mom and pop shops that are, in Ave Maria to, larger CPA firms of 9,000 plus employees. They all have different needs. But if we just focus on what our skills are and what we're really good at producing, it seems to be able to work out really well and making a good match. So they do. So the Scholars Program that's more intense, they do apply for, and then we have a Participants Program. So instead of doing 7 modules, you only do 4. That's available to all the rest of the students. They're not academic credit. They're just like LinkedIn badges. Yep.
But with our so our QEP this year is the first year experience, freshman year experience. And the participant program is a requirement for the first year experience. Can you go up there's like maybe toggle over to the participant program? No, go up. Just go up. Go up there. And then scroll down. So this is the participant program. And what we did was, in the past we had career services workshops. We pray that somebody comes to your workshop. Well, we're not doing that anymore. We threw it out. We came up with a new design. And the new design is the participant program. It's a 2-hour workshop at the beginning of each semester. It's similar to our scholar program where they have a theme. They have a theme, they have a challenge, they come up with a solution, they deliver the solution. And it's theme-based, and they get badges and put it on their LinkedIn. And then like our fall job jamboree is open to all students. So that's how the Institute serves all students at Ave Maria University.
Great. Thank you so much. Oh, sorry. One last question. Yeah.
You have a template that students use to solve the problem. It seemed very interesting and looks like a great program. Where would either a hiring company or the students themselves, where would they experience the Catholic virtues or whatever you're incorporating in there that makes it distinctively Catholic, if at all?
At the university, it's all throughout their academics. They're broken up into households where they have different Catholic, kind of like what Franciscan does.
Let me address that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So at Ave Maria University, it's very intentional how we form the whole person, from academic affairs to spiritual formation to student life and in professional training. So those are like the 4 big pillars at Ave Maria University, where it's very intentional how we form the whole person. Now, our mentors, they're Catholic. They live out their Catholic faith, and they're in the working world. So maybe through that one-on-one mentoring, with speaking to a mentor who lives out their Catholic faith and in the world, that can come up during the mentoring session.
And finally, I'll just add that a lot of the companies we're talking to, initially I thought it would be like Fortune 500s, 100s, but no, we're not. We're really talking to Catholic-owned, business owners, small family-run businesses up to, larger-sized manufacturing firms, but all owned by great Catholics that are connected somehow to the university or Catholic apostolates. Those are most of our customers right now. Yeah, so the Scholars has about 240.
Well, it's going to grow to 400.
Every year we keep
launched
adding.
it, so
Yeah.
next year we're adding next. So we just launched it. We're going in our third year. So we started with freshmen. This year was freshman, sophomore. Now this coming year will be freshman, sophomore, junior, and then freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. It's 100 students per class year. So that's about 400 students when we have it all built out. And then for the participants is everybody else. So Dan Schreck on the cabinet level oversees athletics. So this is really going to be also part of the athletic program is the participant program. So when we have our workshops on Saturdays, we're asking athletes don't have any practices on the Saturday during our participant program. Encourage the athletes to come. They're excused if there's a game. So we really are going to be serving all of the students at Ave Maria University.
Great. Thank you so much.
And there's one last thing. Yeah, one last thing is if you could go to services. So when you come down to services, this is how is the entryway. We have companies, we have a special initiative for schools and for individuals. But if you come down to the bottom, we also have a strong relationships with graduate schools. Keep coming down. So right there's our collegiate partners. So I don't know if anyone is with a graduate program in here, but we're growing this relationship, and our students will get some benefits in going to one of our schools that we have an MOU with. Could be a direct entry point, or it could be a discounted rate going to graduate school. So if anyone has any questions about that, you can come and see me after the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you both.
You want to go first? Let's see which presentation comes up. So Lewis and I have different presentations. Let's go with Lewis first, Galarowicz. All right. 10 minutes? Yeah. Okay, I'll set it. All right. So I'm from the Department of State. Show of hands, who knows what the Department of State does? Okay, yep, foreign affairs. So it conducts diplomacy on behalf of the United States. Who's heard of the Foreign Service in particular? Okay, very good. Okay, so the Foreign Service is the officer corps that conducts diplomacy on behalf of the United States. It is a commissioned branch. A lot of it was started in 1924. We'll get to that, but yeah, just wanted to get a sense of the background. So next slide. All right, so America needs its next generation of diplomats. Like the rest of the federal government, we have an aging workforce at the Department of State. We are looking to significantly increase early career hiring in the next 2 years. He'll give more of a presentation on the early career hiring efforts, but I'll start by just mentioning there's kind of 2 hiring pathways into the Department of State. There's Foreign Service officers. These are our foot soldiers abroad. They are, these are the people we're shipping out. And then there's also civil servants. They're hired through OPM hiring pathways, which we'll get to, and they are government civil servants working at the Department of State. Yeah, and then the Department of State is active in over 180 countries, right? Pretty much everywhere in the world there is a U.S. embassy or consulate, and there's American diplomats representing our country. So the face of America abroad. So the statutory language is that the Foreign Service officers are representative Americans. So you are one of the few that gets to represent this country. It is a tremendous honor. Many of the people coming in, they've had careers in other things, and they see this as like service, right? So I know many of you, service is very core to the spirituality or the heart of your university. So thinking about if there's students who are interested in languages, international relations, these are the kind of students who could be interested in the Foreign Service. So the Foreign Service was established in 1924 by the Rogers Act. This was coming out of the kind of abuse by kind of partisan, the spoil system. They created a nonpartisan Foreign Service. The thing is, consular, so they combine the diplomatic and consular services. The diplomatic was the kind of like friends, the upper class friends of whoever was in office getting their nice posh apartments in different capitals. And the consular services was it was more your clerk who, similar to the postal service, was in it for what's in it for him. Because of course, consular service, the Department of State is partially self-funding. Visas, these things, we bring in money through this. So hundreds of millions of dollars are brought into the department through consular services. So that's our first diplomat, Ben Franklin, of course. The first Secretary of State was Thomas Jefferson. So the Department of State is one of the oldest departments. It was one of the 3 originals alongside Treasury and War, which was defense, War as it was originally called. So the diplomacy. So we'll start to get into the work of the State Department. So diplomacy, negotiating with foreign governments, advancing U.S. policy, and managing bilateral relationships. So this is engagement with the UN and a host of other international organizations. There's protection. So American Citizen Services, adjudication of visas, management of consular emergencies. Pretty much every foreign service officer will go through some kind of emergency, evacuation of an embassy, these kind of events. And they also have to do things like getting Americans out of jail. That's one of the things they practice in their orientation courses is negotiating getting people out of jail. Because yes, we have many expats abroad who get up to all sorts of things. Economics, so a big focus of this presidency, and really the last several presidencies, has been using basically economics or commercial diplomacy, economic statecraft, to advance American interest abroad. This would be in the context of, let's say, Pax Silica, which is the negotiating to secure critical minerals deals for American companies to create this kind of peace through economic relations, especially in Latin America and Africa. Then there's intelligence. So a lot of work done by the State Department is the creating of memos, right? Writing memos. It's a lot of writing and saying what's going on the ground. And the economic and political officers are the primary people doing that. And then public affairs. So kind of spreading goodwill abroad, which is to say, like portraying the United States and then making linkages between the culture of the United States and culture of foreign countries. Next slide. So there's 5 different career paths in the Foreign Service. Consular affairs, which focuses on the adjudication of visas. That's hundreds. You're seeing hundreds of people a day, and you're quickly assessing, is this person going to harm this country? And you're making split decisions. And it's a lot of helping Americans abroad. There's the economic, which is the trade deals, the business deals, engaging local business communities. There's the management. These are the people running the actual embassies. These embassies, a lot of them are small cities. They have, in addition to the Americans employed there, they have sometimes hundreds of locally employed staff, sometimes in rival or more adversarial countries. These people are foreign intelligence. There's all kinds of things going on. So there's political. So these are the people primarily conducting talks and other things with foreign leaders. And then there's public diplomacy. Again, this is kind of the media communications with foreign governments and spreading goodwill abroad. Next slide. Yes, so the career. So you do get, to prevent kind of clientism, people are generally shifted around. Generally, people stay within regional bureaus, which is to say like NEA, which is a Near East, or let's say WHA, which is Western Hemisphere. But you stay at post 2 to 4 years. At some point, you have to go to a hardship post, which is a post which is rated hardship by its difference from America. So that would be, less developed countries generally. The average career is long. The State Department really takes care of you. Most people do stay for a career. A lot of people, it's their second career. They come in with skills in some of the things we mentioned. They have a policy background, they have a finance background, they have some other skills that they bring to the State Department. And yeah, it's a upper out system in the State Department of promotion, and it ends like with being promoted an ambassador. The majority of our ambassadors are career foreign service officers, so it's not everyone, but the best do have a chance to actually represent our country as the lead diplomat. Next slide. And The path to application, so there's a pretty long application process. You start by taking a Foreign Service Officer test, which has 3 sections: job knowledge, English expression, logical reasoning. Then you have a kind of a oral assessment, a written, and then an oral assessment. And then there's like all the clearances on the background, medical, security clearances. And then you're put on a register, and then you're appointed. So in all, this takes about 18 months. So yeah, juniors and seniors in college can start taking this test. Yeah, because the process takes this amount of time. The test is offered 4 times a year. Next slide. Yep, the foreign officer test. So this is the first kind of gateway they have to get through. It's a general knowledge test. But like I said, so there's a kind of general knowledge section: history, economics, geography. There's been conversations to take it in a kind of more classical direction for those of you who are kind of familiar with like the classic learning test. There's a logical reasoning section, which just has a kind of an acuity, and then there's English expression, which is key to writing, is still part of pretty much everything in the Foreign Service, so we test for writing up front, or English expression. Next slide. Yeah, and then what we're looking for. So I would say generally the majors, it tends towards international relations, people with a prior interest in going abroad, people who are interested in service, definitely, who are patriotic, interested in serving their country, or doing something for the common good or greater good. But really, there's no one path to the Foreign Service. We have people from all backgrounds, like economics, finance, MBAs, there's a ton of lawyers. All these people can put their skills to use in service of the national interests. Next slide. And so we are currently building out pipelines. So we're trying to partner with universities to get more students from places like the Cardinal Newman schools interested in the Foreign Service. The current pipelines are they're from the kind of legacy institutions where you would expect, and there's time for kind of a fresh crop of Foreign Service officers. So next slide. So military hire is the contractor we're working with in order to get people into the Foreign Service. So they will, I think we're gonna, coming out of this, Patrick Riley is gonna try to engage with your recruitment offices to set up subsequent sessions where we can get more in contact with all of your schools. But yes, we're trying to create a partner program. So that's what's detailed here. And I think that's, maybe there's one more slide. Yep, there we go. And as I said, like Patrick, I think there will be subsequent conversations with all of you to figure out what this is gonna look like going forward. And that's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Lewis. Let's see. Shall we all watch? What's your name? Dan? Let's see. Coyne. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I sent it to Patrick, I think last night. Cutting it close. Sorry, what? Oh, it's on his hard drive. Okay. Well, I can get started because I don't want to take up too much of your time. But my name is Brendan Coyne. I'm a senior advisor at the U.S. Office of Personnel Management. I saw a few hands go up when Lewis asked about who's familiar with the State Department. Show of hands, who has heard of or is at all familiar with OPM? Okay, we got a few. Okay, the few, the proud. So what you need to know about OPM is you can think of us, it's an independent agency, right? And we're pretty much the HR department for the entire civil service. So the federal government has a little over 2 million civil service employees. If you've been watching the news recently, over the past year, you'll probably notice that a big priority last year was kind of right-sizing that workforce, right? So this included things like a hiring freeze government-wide, making agencies kind of take more accountability and control over their plan for staff allocation and staff sizing, making sure that each agency has the appropriate workforce allocated to what its mission is in statute, having the right people in the right jobs to do the right work. And so all of that comes through OPM, right? We do a lot of coordination with agencies. We do a lot of support for all the HR needs that all these federal agencies have to kind of hire, retain, promote, manage, train all of their civil servants, right? It's a big workforce. I think the only comparable workforce in the private sector is Walmart, and I think we have them beat. I can't recall exactly, but I think we have a little bit more. So the scale of the initiatives and our vantage point over the civil servant workforce is it's total, and so it's a real privilege to be able to work there and serve the missions that we're working on. So I'm here today to talk to you guys and just tell you a little bit about specifically what we're doing with early career hiring. And when we talk about early careers, we're calling it early career hiring because it is illegal, and we do not discriminate based on age. But a lot of our kind of impetus for these efforts come from what we see when we look out across the federal government and we look at the different workforce structures of the current civil service. There we go. And the good news for you, Dan, is I'm only going to use the first couple of slides here. And that's good news for all of you, too. My former employer was there was a big culture of slides. And at OPM, I've gotten the privilege of working with someone who used to work for Elon. And I don't know if you've heard, but Elon, all his companies, they generally don't use slides as much. And so this coworker of mine is constantly cajoling me, like, we don't need as many slides. And so we're only going to use the first couple here. So there we have it, U.S. Office of Personnel Management at the top. And so this earlycareers.gov, if you're on your phone or you're tired of hearing me talking, you can feel free to type that into your browser and check out the website. We're very excited about the website. It's a gorgeous website. But so this Early Careers Initiative is a government-wide effort. We are consolidating all of the civil service hiring in early, entry levels for across 6 key job categories. We'll get to those in a minute. But real quick, can we go next slide? Oh, we have a lovely Teddy Roosevelt quote, famous speech. And the reason this is in here and the reason that our headquarter building is called the Teddy Roosevelt Building. And a lot of the value proposition of federal service for your students, for young Americans, is changing, right? A lot of the things from last year, I think it's pretty clear that this idea of kind of coming in and staying for 30 years, doing the same thing, maybe getting promoted a few times, it's not really, it's not really a value proposition that connects with young people in the way that we're thinking about it. And so a lot of our initiatives and our efforts are really focused on making sure that young, early career, kind of entry-level folks have a smooth candidate experience coming into identifying and finding and applying for federal work, as well as an opportunity to come in for a few years and have a huge impact. And I can't stress that enough, because all of the roles that we'll be hiring for under this umbrella they are the front lines of making the government work. So when you think about things like effective service for Americans from any government agency, the people at the front lines of that are usually entry-level or just past entry-level in roles like HR managers who are doing recruiting and hiring, or contracts analysts who are defending the value of taxpayers' dollars, or budget analysts who are making sure that costs are controlled on these massive programs, right? Or IT analysts who have to take the call at 3 a.m. when, some computer system at pick an agency, whether it's GSA, NSA, or NASA, goes down and someone's got to fix it, right? So these are the people in the arena. This is where impact for Americans happens. And so we could go to the next slide, please. So a little bit about the context, going back to this look over the entire federal workforce, right? So when we look at the entire federal workforce, we can kind of break it down by stages of career. If you think about like early, middle, and later stages of someone's career, right? And what we've found is that we're pretty over-indexed on that like later stage of the career, right? Makes sense. There's a lot of expertise needed to do a lot of the functions in government, and so a lot of the government workers are going to be kind of later stage in their career and have a lot of like decades of expertise in something, right? But then when we look at the earlier side of that, so that early career stage, we find that we're super under-indexed compared to the private workforce in the country, right? So up here you'll see about 8% of the federal workforce of those 2.3 million federal civil servants are under the age of 30. Compared to the private sector, that number is more like 22, 25%. So just in terms of workforce longevity and sustainability, and also at a time like we are in now, where AI and new technologies are changing the nature of work and the way we work and the way we deliver value for Americans, it's constantly changing. So having young, excited, passionate candidates who are excited to learn and capable is a huge priority for OPM right now. And so one of our goals is to have 33%, so a solid third of all federal hiring eventually be in those early career categories. And so again, thinking this is government-wide. This is not just at us, at our little agency. This is the civil service at all the agencies. You just heard from Lewis, who was talking about the Foreign Service. This does not pertain to that, right? The Foreign Service is a kind of separate bucket, but there, as Lewis mentioned, there are civil service employees at the State Department. And then we're also looking to reduce the time to hire. Lewis mentioned that the State Department, the Foreign Service officers have this 18-month period where it's intense assessment and interviews and selection and training and stuff. We're looking to get that down. We're looking to get the government-wide average to 80 days, and we're looking to shorten the time between your students and having that time to impact, showing up on the job. So we can go to the next slide. So one of the way we're doing this is we're taking, raise your hand, not counting on a ton here. Has anyone heard of USA Jobs? Oh, so OPM built and runs USA Jobs. And, sorry?
That's the only template that lets students use.
Oh, the USA Jobs resume template? Yes, so about that. We're doing a lot to focus on that candidate experience, right? And if you've ever been on USA Jobs, there's abundant opportunities throughout the federal government. And so usually my experience with it when I was earlier in my career was I would go onto USA Jobs, type data analyst or something like that. And then there'd be hundreds of listings that come up and lots of words and terms about hiring authorities, hiring pathway, all these things that I didn't understand. And so we're really focused on building a team to streamline that candidate experience. So what we've done is we've built a single talent network, which I will give you the website to go to point your students to in a moment. But we've built essentially a single point of entry. And from there, folks who sign up for the Talent Network will be walked through uploading a resume, making a profile, putting in their preferences, and then there will be job links that come out periodically across these 6 hiring categories. If we could go to the next slide. One more. So these are the 6 hiring categories. This is the last slide, by the way. I would only pay attention to the first 2 columns here. So we can ignore all the terminology about grades and hiring program and series and just focusing on these 6 buckets. So what we did is we looked across government and we asked agencies to kind of send us estimates of what their hiring plans were, right? And from those accumulated estimates, we identified these 6 categories as the most common buckets across the entire federal workforce that agencies will be hiring for in those early career levels, right? Those entry levels. And so what we're doing and what we have built is a standard pipeline for each of these things, where your students will be able to apply and take a standardized assessment, put in their preferences, fill out some questions about location preferences. And these are for roles countrywide, by the way. We're hiring for 20 different locations across the country. So these are not specific to coming to Washington, D.C. In fact, we are really excited to be able to offer students, graduating students, opportunities all over the country. So they'll take the standardized assessment questionnaire, and then we have a team at OPM that will be engaging them to do short screeners and help match them with different agency demand across these categories. And so the idea is we're really looking to hire for merit over any kind of on-paper qualifications. So our big initiative, outside of only early careers, but all jobs, is to ensure that agencies and every hiring initiative is using skills-based assessments so that we can do away with degree requirements. In fact, I think except for that procurement role, none of these require a bachelor's degree. So if you have students who are really gung-ho about serving their country and getting involved in the government and working and having an impact, if they're super excited about government efficiency and they're a fantastic computer developer, for example, I would encourage them to find that IT specialist role and apply. We are doing away with any degree requirements which aren't necessary for the actual skills to do the job. And so I could go on and on about this stuff because I'm super excited about it, having struggled in my earlier life to kind of figure out how USA Jobs worked and how to navigate it. We're still using USA Jobs on the back end, right? But the front end of this and the experience for your candidates is hopefully one that will be a much more streamlined, much more clear. We've made sure that the job descriptions actually minimize the amount of HR jargon and actually make sense to your graduating students and candidates who will be reading them. And we're just really excited to be spinning this up. We're continually ramping up, and we're going to be doing a lot of activity in the fall, and these will be continuous hiring pipelines. So I think that's all I have for you. If you could go back one slide. If you have questions, that is the email that I would strongly urge you to note down and reach out to. Our team is actively supervising that every day. If you send an email to that, it will come to my inbox as well. And there's all these other programs that I don't want to take up too much of your time, but under this early careers umbrella, we also have a couple different internship programs. Again, these are government-wide, so agencies sending us their internship listings and us kind of putting them in a streamlined pipeline. We have a scholarship for service opportunity where cyber security students the government will pay your tuition if you agree to work as a cyber analyst in the government after graduating. And we also have some activity going on with attorney hiring, but just wanted to keep it focused today on those like full-time early career roles. I would encourage you to go to earlycareers.gov, check out the website. It will prompt you to join the talent network that I mentioned. You can give it a go. It only takes a couple minutes to join. But thank you so much for your time. Are we good?
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, excited to be here today. I'm actually with the Heritage Foundation. For those of you who don't know, we were founded in 1973, and we're a conservative policy organization based here in Washington, D.C., but we also have programs that reach out across the country. So I'd like to give you a little bit of an introduction both to the programs that we do, but also to the conservative movement and how hiring works in the movement. Just to get started, I don't have any slides, but I do have some notes just to make sure I hit everything. We start with the premise that people are policy, and I'm glad to see OPM is here today. That's a great sign. You generally want people who are aligned, and so to make a difference in policy, you need people that are trained to take those jobs, to fill those roles, and to make a real difference in government and also with the organizations that are involved in the conservative movement. So I'm very excited to see that. I'd like to start start today by just learning what schools you come from. So if I could start over on the left-hand side here and just learn what institutions you're joining us from. We get started with you. Excellent. Excellent. Christendom? Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. And you, ma'am? Excellent. Okay, great. We do have a high school program too, so happy to talk about that. Excellent. 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 Great. And I know you're at CUA, which is great to be here. So I'm a graduate of CUA, I think I mentioned last night. It's a great Newman Guide school, and I appreciate all the work you guys do. And we've had great students from Franciscan University and others, so great to see that you guys are here. Very glad to have you. But a few general principles to start with on hiring in the conservative movement. The conservative movement is always hiring, but it's often not in advance because institutions tend to be smaller, so it's helpful if your students can be patient. We can't often, like Deloitte, hire 100 people each semester. We have to wait until the roles are open. So I encourage you to encourage your students to wait on timing. It's helpful to be here in DC though. It gives them a leg up to be here, and sometimes it's helpful not to make perfect the enemy of good. It's good to get started in a role in Washington, D.C., and I think if you're talented, you move up quickly. We see that on Capitol Hill a lot where people will be in a role for maybe 6 months to a year before they move up. So it's not a problem to come here and start as an intern. It often leads to full-time roles later on. But in terms of what type of roles are available in the conservative movement, I want to start with the obvious, and then we'll move into some less obvious roles. But there's a great variety of institutions that are hiring, and again, those most obvious ones are Capitol Hill. There's legislative roles, there's communications roles, and then there's also operations in each of those offices. The administration has a similar structure where there are people in communications, legislation, and ops. And then there's also state governments, legislatures. Each legislator has people that work in their office, as well as the governor's office in conservative states. And then there's some that are less obvious. There's state think tanks in every state across the country where your students can get involved within the state. There's state policy network and family policy networks that work on family policy. So there's those great institutions across the states. There's youth groups that hire across the country. Turning Point USA is a good example. Students for Life and YAF, and they all hire reps across the country. And then there's also legal groups, just to mention a few. And then we get into even more specific. There's certain organizations that work on only one policy issue, like tax or something else, and they will hire within the states as well. But there's also a great variety of types of roles too. So we need great lawyers in the movement. We need great events people. We need even business roles. We need people that can do programming like I do, work in student programs. Outreach and communications, coalitions, journalism. There's fundraising roles. There's obviously policy roles, and even colleges and universities that tend to be conservative, like Hillsdale College, hire staff and conservative students. But with that, I just wanted to dive into some hopefully practical tips that could help your students as they're launching their career search before I discuss some of the programs that we have and hopefully how your students can get involved. I'll say in the conservative movement, I mentioned it's smaller institutions, and they do still hire with human beings. So human beings are reading the resumes and cover letters. It's not AI. I know when you apply to major institutions, sometimes it's using AI, and we've heard reports of students getting rejections in minutes from an AI reviewing their resume, which is very sad and disappointing. But nonetheless, in the conservative movement, in the age of AI, you actually stand out when you're writing a high-quality cover letter and you're answering the question, not just why you, but why them. Why do you want to work at the institution? Why are you aligned with it? Especially in the conservative movement, we're looking for people who are truly aligned with our mission. And so we want conservatives who are really solid. And then the other thing I'll mention on that front is that relationships still matter very much in the conservative movement, and I think this is true across Washington, D.C., that hiring is often not publicized, so there's many roles that you have to just be notified by people that you know that people are looking for people. So there's a great variety of roles, great variety of skills that are necessary, and relationships really do matter. And we also see that success starts on campus, and I think that's particularly relevant for this audience here. If you can counsel students for what we're looking for people that are involved on their campus. It doesn't have to be explicitly conservative, though that's great, but it could be a pro-life club, for instance, or it might be a TPUSA, or a Young America's Foundation, or ISI. We also have great partners in the movement. Forge Leadership Network is one example where they do leadership programming in Nashville and also in Ohio. So there's great ones across the country that you can get involved with. And then there's also campus journalism. So students that are interested in working in the conservative movement can write for these publications, particularly Campus Reform, The College Fix, and a newer one is called New Guard Press, which was actually founded by one of our intern alums. But getting involved on campus leads to success, and it makes it easier to hire someone in the conservative movement when they're credentialed, when we can see that they're aligned with us. And then one last piece of advice, I think this is true for all job searches, but the first is generally the hardest, so you can counsel students. They don't have to be concerned if it's very difficult to get that first job. It can be, but once they're in, once they have that first step, it gets a little bit easier from there. As I said, you'll move up quickly if you're talented, so they don't have to be concerned with just getting started with perhaps an internship, or maybe not the exact job they wanted, but at least getting started in the movement is a good idea. If they do get an internship, and that's great news, that's great training for what's ahead, it's helpful to treat that like an extended job interview. So the institutions want to hire people that they know, that they've trained, that they're familiar with. So it's very helpful when students have that internship experience and then they treat it like they're being evaluated to be full-time employees. We have about 68 interns that we have this semester, and I think it's somewhere around 20 or 30% of our staff are former interns. So we like to hire people that we know, and so it's very helpful to have that experience. In terms of our programs, I think I told you a little bit about them last night, but just wanted to flag two or three of them for you. The first is our internship program. So as I mentioned, that's all 3 semesters. It's 13 weeks. It's here in DC, and it is paid. Interns get $18.50 an hour, so that makes it possible for some students to come to DC, which we understand. And then there's a mix of policy lectures, mentorship, and field trips. It's a great experience, and we're looking for students that, as I mentioned, are aligned, that can write well, that are involved on campus and have taken on leadership roles. And I'm happy to give any of you a flyer on that if you'd like to learn more. And then we also have the Heritage Academy, which is an online fellowship program, a mix of policy lectures, live Q&As, and discussions. And that gives people an opportunity without coming to DC to get involved in the movement, to get a credential. So I'd encourage you to have your students take a look at joining that. And then lastly, I'll just mention we have a job bank that sends out career opportunities and internship opportunities twice a week rather. So you can sign up for that message if you're interested, and you can encourage your students to sign up. We have roles across the movement, across the country, but particularly here in DC as well. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions you have.